So Nod Krai has been out for a while now, and unlike Natlan where that was constantly being scrutinised by the Genshin community, people by comparison are absolutely loving Nod Krai. But what is it about Nod Krai that's making the player base so receptive towards it? Arguably, the most receptive the community's been to a new nation in a long time. Let's go over what people have been saying about Nod Krai over the last month or two, and see just why people like it so much. Oh, and this video is spoiler free, by the way, just thought I'd mention that. Let's start with Nod Krai's world design, because I mean, it's just beautiful. I think most of the player base can agree on that. Like, it's got this melancholic tranquility to it, which is the perfect mix of melancholy, mystery, and pleasantness. Like, it just feels nice. And of course, pair that with its almost ethereal soundtrack. The environment and the music are both a match made in heaven, and the soundtrack especially is a real highlight of this nation. It not only sounds good when you listen to it standalone on Spotify, but it just also really adds to Nod Krai's visuals. The region's music doesn't rely on catchy beats, but instead uses timing and space to bring about feelings of solitude and stillness, and yet it kind of makes every area feel so alive. It's just really good world building. Nod Krai isn't overstimulating, which is part of the reason why it does feel like a breath of fresh air. Also, they brought in Aurora for the soundtrack, someone who is known for her ethereal soundscapes. Yeah, they really cooked with bringing her into this. One of the most important parts of a region is its character cast. Since the announcement of Nod Krai's character cast has already had major hype going for it, and even now with some of these characters already being out, us already knowing what they're about, it's arguably drawn up even more hype. Let me explain. The dynamic between Aino and Inefa is incredibly cute and wholesome. Whether you want to call it a little sister to big sister dynamic or a mother and daughter dynamic, this example of found family is something that Genshin has absolutely nailed. And accompany that with Aino's backstory, and it just gives it even more emotional depth. Lauma was already shown to be pretty elegant in the trailer that we got before Nod Krai released, and when we saw her in game for the first time in the Archon quest, and what she was actually like, as well as seeing her deer-like gameplay aesthetics, she became even more ethereal. Pair that with her lore about the Frostmoon Scions, and the moral weight in her story arc, it shows that she's not just a pretty face, it gives her character more scope for depth and empathy. Something that I forgot to mention in my last video that a couple of you guys mentioned was the male character drought that Genshin had been going through. Hell, last year, Kanich was the only male 5-star to release. So when Flint was shown in the Nod Krai trailer, people went wild. His design was highly praised, and he was just aura farming the entire time he was in the trailer, adding to his appeal. It felt refreshing to have a new, tall, male character who just looked really cool. While Yehoda isn't playable yet, people have already fallen in love with her. She went from a character that very few paid attention to before release to pretty much a fan favourite really quickly. She's expressive and she genuinely feels human. The way she's been brought to life is both entertaining and pretty relatable. And that also feels refreshing. Like, she might be one of the most relatable Genshin characters that they have ever released. That might be blazing too much, but you get the point. As for Nefa, she serves, not just in looks, but her lore, oh my god! And the fact that it was shown so close to Rarez made it even better. Speaking of which, while he isn't playable, but he got drip marketing, which just makes it confusing. And again, no spoilers here, but the way Rarez was written feels like a huge step up for Genshin standards. Not only is his backstory insane, but it showed that Genshin isn't afraid to tackle these kind of subjects in their game. And honestly, at least in my opinion, it's a warm welcome to see Genshin get a bit darker like this. Oh, plus his character model is huge. Varga has been hyped up from the beginning of the game. He's the Grand Master of the Knights of Favonius. And apart from hearing about him from Mondstadt characters, we've never actually seen what he's like up until now. And it was just really cool seeing him in the Archon quest and seeing his mannerisms and how he works. Oh, and plus he's also huge. So we were introduced to Durin in Similanka in version 4.8. For those of you who weren't playing then, or for those of you who need a refresher, Durin is the dragon in the world of Similanka, created by one of the Hexen's Witches. He was created based on the Teyvat's real dragon in Dragonspine. So not only was it cool to see him again, but it's just great having another lore-relevant Mondstadt character, especially now since he's playable next patch, so that's pretty hype. Meeting a new Harbinger was always going to be hype, and Sandrone, aka Marionettes, is no different. Not only was it fun to get to know another Fatui Harbinger, but without giving away any spoilers, we got some great Harbinger-related interactions and information from her. Oh my god, where do I begin with Columbina? Ever since the Winter Lazo trailer dropped like years ago, she's been among one of the most hyped for characters in the entire game. So when it was revealed that she was going to play a part in Nod Krai, it had the community hoping that Hoyoverse would do her justice. And so far, it seems so. She has incredible lore relevance to the moons, and her ex-Harbinger status and the fact that the Fatui are desperate to get her back makes things more intriguing. Oh yeah, and Arlecchino also appeared. Totally not biased, but oh my god! So yeah, those are the characters that we've already seen in-game so far in Nod Krai. But as we know from the Nod Krai trailer, there are incredibly lore-relevant characters that, at the very least, we are going to get to pull for or get to know more about. Let me explain which characters are carrying the most hype and why. Again, like Varka, Alice has been a hyped-for character for a very long time. We've heard her in events, we've seen her influence all over Mondstadt, and for Klee fans, she's Klee's mum. But again, she's a character who we've never met and seen, up until the Nod Krai trailer. So already seeing her in-game model, it's gonna be a big deal. Plus, again, she is extremely lore relevant, seeing as she is the founder of the Hexen Circle, the mysterious organisation that's comprised of some of the most powerful witches in Teyvat, with some of them even having abilities that rival the Archons. So yeah, she's a big deal. Aside from being friends of Durin, there's probably another reason why Mondura is going to make an appearance in Nod Krai, and it's probably something to do with Dottore being there, since his second betrayal was masterminded by Dottore. So Mondura probably wants to settle the score with him, and that will be interesting. Also, interestingly, speaking of Dottore, not only is he second of the Fatui Harbingers, he also holds incredible lore relevance. We already got a small sneak peek into what he was capable of in Sumeru, but seeing as he's actually in charge of some of the operations in Nod Krai, it's likely that we'll get to see a lot more of his abilities while we're in this region, as well as his motives. There are also multiple Harbingers / ex-Harbingers in Nod Krai right now, which could make for some pretty interesting character interactions. Like, will Dottore try and get Columbina back? Will him and Wanderer have a standoff? What kind of interaction will him and Sandrone have? You know, drama is inevitable. Like Alice, Nicole is affiliated with the Hexen Circle. We've heard her voice before, but seeing her up close in the Nod Krai trailer was huge. Since Nicole is an interesting figure, seeing her become a more integral part of the story raises a lot of interest, and now we'll get to know more about her. Also, with both her and Alice being in Nod Krai, it gives us hope for a deeper exploration of the Hexen Circle, their story, their history, and how they fit into the bigger world of Teyvat. In the run-up to Nod Krai's release, a teaser was released showing Piero in Nod Krai, as well as the Shades of Teyvat. Piero, aka the Jester, is the director of the Fatui Harbingers. He's got a very mysterious past, with lore suggesting that he was originally from Khaenri'ah and got involved with the Cataclysm. Like many Khaenri'ahns, he received the Curse of Immortality, and later he aligned with the Sarisa. And from the trailer, it seems that he holds an immense grudge against the Shades. The four Shades are ancient beings. There's Renova, Istaroth, Nabarus, and Asmodee. The Shades are said to exceed Archons in terms of power, and they've been a major mystery in the lore of Teyvat for a long time. Now, because Piero has been somewhat of a background character for a long time, while we know he's powerful, he's also incredibly mysterious and not fully explored. The fact that he showed up in the teaser means that his role, not just in Nod Krai but in Teyvat as a whole, might be rearing up to get expanded significantly. And since he's from Khaenri'ah, obviously, huge lore payoffs are to be expected. Plus, the fact that the Shades were revealed alongside him, and there was shown to be tension, it kind of feels like the teaser set the stage for something huge to happen in Nod Krai. There are things that Nod Krai does that makes the balance between story and character lore feel more balanced. Aside from the Luna 1 and Luna 2 Archon quests being some of the game's most emotionally resonant and thematically rich Archon quests to date, and while it also seems like the overall pacing of these quests are improving, it's also worth noting that character lore is no longer being locked behind separate story quests in Nod Krai. Rather, they're now being integrated into the Archon quests themselves. Again, I'll try not to get too spoilery here, but the way they did do it with Nefer in the Luna 2 Archon quest, it makes sense from a storytelling point of view, but not exactly from a gameplay perspective, since we were kind of forced into continuous cutscenes, but there's room for improvement there. But other than that, this is still a huge glow up. Like I said a while ago, a character cast can almost make or break the experience of a nation. And a big part about these characters are their lore. And sometimes Genshin has an issue with some of their characters where they're not fully fledged out in the Archon quests. And so it makes the player's connection with that character feel kind of forced. It would only be until after you did their story quest that you would connect with that character properly. And in some cases, it would feel a bit too late. And in some cases, character lore is important for the Archon quest. Now with character's lore being more integrated into the Archon quests and overarching plots, it makes the character's presence in the story make more sense. Another reason why people like and are hyped for this nation is because of the lore that it's going to bring to the forefront. You see, Nod Krai is central to the Song of the Welcome Moon storyline, which is a year-long arc designed to help tie up loose ends in Genshin lore before we confront the Tsaritsa in Snezhnaya. It's to highlight lore that was already in the game, but it was hidden behind the finer details like in-game books and artifact descriptions, things that are important to Genshin's lore but weren't explored too much in the Archon quests themselves. I'll give a few big examples. A big thing that we're going to learn more about, and have already learned quite a bit about, is the lore of the moons in Teyvat, as well as the presence of Kuraki, a primordial power predating Teyvat's 7 elements. We'll also get to be seeing a bit more of the Fatui. Like I said earlier on, we've known that Dotori is going to play a big part in this region. We also know that the Fatui want Columbina back, but the feeling isn't reciprocated. Rather, Columbina seems to be more interested in pursuing her own agenda as the Moon Maiden and her origins rather than being a harbinger. So it will be interesting to see how that develops as the patches roll on. The Hexen Circle are also present in Nod Krai, seeing as figures like Alice and Nicole are in Nod Krai. And like we mentioned earlier on, the Shanes of Teyvat were also teased to play some sort of role in this arc. Also, seeing how much we already learned about Khaenri'ah by Riri's involvement in the Archon quest so far, learning even more about Khaenri'ah isn't off the table either. Plus, there are just so many factions in this region, from the Knights of Favonius to the Wild Hunt and everything in between. This is a very lore-heavy arc for Genshin, and that's incredibly hype. There's also love for the small touches that have been added to Nod Krai, in particular how certain small things feel alive. The Traveller actually talks more in Archon quests now. There were the cute loading screen doodles in the latest Archon quest, but one of the best things is that Nod Krai characters can be found in the open world as NPCs, and Traveller's Tales has become a permanent thing, which is something that the Genshin community has always been craving. The player base has longed for the chance to hang out with characters as NPCs, and with this we can even see some cool character interactions like between Nefer and Yelan, or the fact that we can go and interact with Columbina every week because she has a new cutscene that plays. It's small stuff like that that's been added to Nod Krai that makes the region feel more interactive. Of course, it's important to talk about why people aren't glazing Nod Krai for balance sake. We already spoke about how Nefer's story parts in the latest Archon quest was handled. There were also some discussions surrounding Nasha Town being too techy for some people's tastes, but that technology debate has been going on since Natlan. Personally, I don't mind it. Dare I say, I like it, but what do you think? Do you think Nasha Town is too techy? And another issue is that premium Nod Krai units and Nod Krai teams don't seem too free-to-play friendly. What I mean by this is that each Nod Krai DPS so far has a best support character that's a limited 5-star. And not just any limited 5-star, a Nod Krai limited 5-star. Like Flynn's best support is a Nefer, Nefer's is Lauma, and I wouldn't be surprised if this trend continues as the Nod Krai patches roll out. Now, are Neferless people still pulling for Flynn's? Yes. I'm an example. Are Lauma-less people still going to pull for Nefer anyway? Probably, but it's the principle of it. For most players, getting a brand new 5-star every patch just isn't possible. What do you think? Is this an issue or not? So TLDR, sure, Nod Krai still has little things that could be ironed out, but the vibes are good, the storytelling's good, and Nod Krai just seems like a breath of fresh air for the most part. But I want to know your thoughts. Do you like Nod Krai? If so, why? And if not, why not? Thanks for watching, subscribe, follow my Instagram, and comment any bird emoji to show that you made it to the end of the video and that you are superior. Peace!